Have you ever had an idea so vivid, so exciting that you couldn't wait to bring it into the world? You sat down, paintbrush in hand, pen on paper, or fingers ready on the keyboard, and the first lines came out. But soon after, something inside you whispered, "This isn't good enough." So you revised, you deleted, you reworked. You told yourself you'd come back tomorrow to perfect it, but tomorrow never came. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. It's a trap that countless artists, writers, and musicians have fallen into, the trap of perfectionism. And here's the irony: perfection, the thing we believe will make our work great, often destroys it. Today, we're going to explore why perfection is the enemy of art. We'll look at psychology, philosophy, and history. We'll examine how perfectionism kills creativity, why imperfection makes art powerful, and how you can finally break free from the myth of perfection. Let's talk about the myth of perfection. Perfection is seductive. It whispers that if we just try harder, polish longer, refine more, we'll finally create something flawless. But here's the problem: perfection doesn't exist. Art is not mathematics. It isn't an equation that can be solved once and for all. There is no single perfect painting, poem, or song. What one person calls perfect, another dismisses entirely. Take Shakespeare, for example. His plays are filled with historical inaccuracies, reused storylines, and even inconsistent characters. Yet his works are celebrated as some of the greatest art ever created. Or consider Vincent van Gogh. His paintings were criticized in his lifetime for being sloppy, unpolished, even grotesque. Today, those very brushstrokes, wild, uneven, imperfect, are what make his art so alive. So if perfection doesn't exist, why do we keep chasing it? Psychologists say perfectionism often comes from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of being not enough. When you aim for perfection, you're not really aiming to create. You're aiming to protect yourself. You're saying, if my art is perfect, no one can criticize me, no one can reject me. But here's the paradox. In trying to protect ourselves, we kill the very thing that makes art matter. Because art isn't about avoiding judgment. It's about expressing truth. Research from the University of Kent has shown that perfectionism is strongly linked with creative block. The more we try to control every detail, the less willing we are to take risks, experiment, or simply play. And without risk or play, creativity dries up. This is why perfectionism doesn't just slow down artists, it silences them. I want to talk about how perfectionism kills creativity. Perfectionism operates like a critic living inside your head. Imagine this: you're writing a story. In the early stages, you're supposed to be playful, imaginative, free, but perfectionism interrupts. That sentence is awkward, delete it. This idea isn't original enough. Scrap it. You're wasting your time. Instead of a flow of ideas, you get stop, start, stop. Creativity collapses under constant self-surveillance. Psychologists call this analysis paralysis. When your brain is overloaded with self-criticism, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for evaluation, overpowers the default mode network, the part that generates creative associations. You literally shut down the space where creativity happens. The result? A half-finished novel in your drawer, a canvas left blank, a song stuck in endless revisions. The world never sees your work, not because it wasn't good enough, but because you never let it go. We have to understand, there is beauty in imperfections. If perfectionism kills art, then imperfection is what makes it beautiful. Consider the Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi. It teaches that beauty is found in impermanence and imperfection. the cracked vase, the weathered wood, the asymmetrical garden. There's also the practice of kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. The cracks aren't hidden, they're highlighted. The flaw becomes the most beautiful part. Art thrives in the same way. The mistakes, the rough edges, the quirks, those are not weaknesses, they're fingerprints of humanity. Think about Bob Dylan's voice. Raspy, uneven, full of cracks, technically imperfect. Yet those imperfections gave his music its soul. Or Frida Kahlo's self-portraits. She didn't paint an idealized, flawless version of herself. She painted her pain, her disability, her raw humanity. And that's why her art speaks across generations. Imperfection is not the enemy of art. It is the essence of art. Let's look at some of history's greatest artists and how they dealt with imperfection. Leonardo da Vinci spent over a decade working on the Mona Lisa. He was constantly layering, adjusting, refining, and yet even at his death, he still considered it unfinished. His words were telling, "Art is never finished, only abandoned." Da Vinci understood that perfection was unreachable. At some point, you must let go. Miles Davis, the legendary jazz musician, famously said, "Do not fear mistakes, there are none." In jazz, the wrong note is not the end, it's an opportunity to create something new. That philosophy transformed jazz into an art form that thrives on spontaneity. J.K. Rowling, when asked about the Harry Potter books, admitted she still sees flaws in them, things she wishes she could change. But if she had waited until the books were perfect, they would never have reached millions of readers. And here's a more modern example: YouTube creators. Many of the most successful creators don't wait to produce the perfect video. They publish consistently, embracing rawness, experimenting, learning in public. That's why their art grows and evolves. Each of these examples shows the same truth. Waiting for perfection means waiting forever. Here's something we often forget. Audiences don't want perfection. Think about the last time you heard a live performance. Maybe the singer's voice cracked. Maybe the guitar was a little out of tune. But these flaws made it real, unforgettable. Research on audience perception shows that people value authenticity over technical flawlessness. In fact, perfect performances often feel cold, sterile, lifeless. Audiences connect to vulnerability. They want to feel the humanity in the work. Your flaws don't push people away. They draw them closer. So, how do you escape the perfection trap? 1. Set limits. Give yourself deadlines. Say, "I'll revise this poem 3 times, and then it's done." Constraints free you from the endless cycle of polishing. 2. Separate creation from editing. When you're in the creative phase, silence the inner critic. Let your ideas flow. Save judgment for later. 3. Share unfinished work. Post the sketch, read the draft aloud, play the rough demo. When you share imperfect work, you prove to yourself that the world won't collapse if it's not flawless. 4. Reframe mistakes. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with this?" ask, "What's alive in this?" Often the flaws are what give your work its character. 5. Remember why you create. You didn't start making art to impress critics. You started because something inside you wanted to be expressed. Don't let perfection smother that voice. Perfection is seductive. It tells you to wait, to polish, to hold back until the stars align. But the truth is, perfection is the enemy of art. If Shakespeare worried about plot holes, if Van Gogh waited until every brushstroke was right, if Bob Dylan tried to smooth out his voice, would we have their art today? Probably not. Your art does not need to be flawless, it needs to be true. So the next time you're staring at a blank page or revising a piece for the 100th time, remember this: let it go. Release it into the world. Because art isn't about being perfect. It's about being human. And sometimes the crack in the vase is where the light gets in. If this spoke to you, share it with a friend who's stuck chasing perfection instead of creating. And if you want more reflections on art, creativity, and the courage to keep going, hit subscribe, because your imperfect, authentic voice deserves to be heard.